Yeah, okay, guys. For this WebDriver wait statement, we are passing two inputs, driver and the time, waiting time, timeout value, how much time you want to wait maximum. After that, once you create this WebDriver wait object, using this object variable, we are defining until you want to wait for some expected condition to occur or to satisfied in the application, right? So that expected condition should be defined inside until method, So, and how you are defining expected conditions? We are selecting predefined expected conditions by using this class, expected conditions class. So there are some set of predefined expected conditions already available in the Selenium. And from that list, you can select any one expected condition. That's how we are defining expected conditions, guys, in the explicit wait statement. Guys, any questions, any doubts in the explicit wait? So all of you understand the concept of explicit wait? Yes. So the next, right? We have to discuss this fluent wait. It is pending, guys. But concept wise, right? It is similar to explicit wait, but the way the fluent wait defined is different. See here in the fluent wait, you have some more additional options we can define in the fluent wait. In the explicit wait, we are defining only two options. One is the waiting time, another one is expected condition. That expected condition also predefined expected condition you can select. That's all. But in the fluent wait, you can define your own user defined condition, and as well as we can also define time interval in which time intervals that condition should be checked continuously until that maximum timeout is expired. And one more option we can define exceptions that can be ignored. That also can be defined in the fluent wait. That we will see that tomorrow. And next wait option, page load timeout option. So this page load timeout option also will be defined after creating the WebDriver object once, similar to implicit wait statement. So by using this driver.manage.timeouts, up to here for implicit wait also same statement we are using timeouts.page load timeout. To define the page load timeout value, we have to use this method. And here we have to define the timeout value 60 seconds. And another last option, thread.sleep. So this is the last option we can use to make WebDriver wait, guys. So how you can make WebDriver wait in Selenium? So these are the four different options we can use: implicit wait, explicit wait, fluent wait, page load timeout, and 5 thread.sleep. There are 5 options are available to instruct WebDriver to wait, guys. Yes, any questions, guys, in the wait options? The wait options, any doubts? No doubts? Yeah. Okay, guys. See, guys, here we have one more pending topic in the elements identification. What is this? cssSelector. Yes. It is similar to XPath. We have seen now, I think so all of you are familiar with the XPath now. Now let us see how to define cssSelector to identify elements. cssSelector. What is a cssSelector? Yes, all of you know CSS files in the web design, right? Developers will be creating CSS files. What is CSS file? Guys, any idea?
Cascading
No,
style,
sir.
sir.
Hmm.
Cascading style, sir. Like
Style
how should
sheets,
we respond style?
style sheets, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that means web element styles will be defined. The style of each element, how that particular element should be displayed in the application, in the web page. What is the size? What is the color? Understand? So there are so many different right style related features will be defined inside that files, inside those files, CSS files, style sheet files. So inside that style sheets, they define styles, right? And for those styles will be defined by using different what is that identifiers. They'll be using some identifiers. Define, that means they will define the styles, and those styles will be given some that means their styles will be associated with some identifiers like ID, class, or tag name. So these are all the right identifiers they will be using to define the styles in the CSS files, guys. So what is a CSS selector in Selenium point of view to identify web elements? How this CSS selector will be used, in the style sheets, whatever the styles they defined and whatever the identifiers they defined, by using those identifiers, also we can identify web elements in the HTML web page. So by using CSS selectors, that is nothing but identifiers defined in the style sheet files. What are those identifiers they will be using in the style sheets? Tag names, IDs, classes. Okay, so this like this, they will be using some set of identifiers they will be defining in the style sheets. So by using those style names, we can say it is a identifier. I'm calling it, right. We can say that style names. So by using those names, style names or style identifiers, Selenium can identify web elements in the HTML web pages. See, you don't get confusion. We are talking when you are discussing about right. CS selected means. Uh, see, for just to explain you, I'm talking theoretically. CSS selector means it is referencing style names defined in the style sheets, guys. Just that is what you have to make a note. Okay. See, now let us see that how these CSS selectors will be defined to identify web elements in the web page. Now see that. Let me copy, export the options. What options we have seen. We may not be able to use all options in CS selector. There are some limitations, but CS selector is really somewhat faster than XPath. But there are some limitations in the CS selector. So that is why, because of those limitations, we go with XPath. Otherwise, CS selectors will be very faster than XPath. That means element can be identified very faster than XPath. If you use XPath or if you use CS selector, CSS selector can identify elements faster than XPath, guys. But there is some limitations. Okay, guys, let me see here. Yes, we'll go one by one. Just number, serial number, and 11 years. Okay. See the elements identification. Continue. CSS selector. Okay. cssSelector. It is another locator available in Selenium, guys. So what is cssSelector? Is a
Heading style sheet.
element can be identified by using style names defined in the HTML file, guys. See that example, how to use this cssSelector. For example, if you want to identify any element by using tag name, guys. So how you are defining in XPath using tag name? How you define XPath using tag name? / tag name, right? It is the way how you define XPath using tag name, HTML tag name, guys. And how you define cssSelector, using tag name. Simply you should write a tag name. That's all, guys. No double slashes required here in the cssSelector. Just simply you can define a tag name, HTML tag name, define cssSelector, guys. There is nothing, no double slashes required in the cssSelector. Similarly, if you want to use next one, ID. By using ID, you can define cssSelector. How you define XPath using ID attribute? Using ID attribute, guys. Using ID attribute. How you define, guys, in XPath? / tag name, correct? / tag name, guys. I'm writing both here. See, this is the XPath one, first one. It is XPath example, and this is cssSelector, guys. cssSelector, so that you can compare both. Okay, that's why I'm writing both, guys. See here XPath. How to define XPath? Using ID, tag name, square bracket, inside that at ID equal to value, right? So this is the syntax, how you define ID attribute in XPath. See, in cssSelector, it is very simple. Very simple writing. See the tag name, hash, ID value. That's all. This is the way how you should have to define ID in cssSelector, guys. Tag name, hash, ID value. Now let us see that. Okay, suppose if you want to define next one, class. If you want to define class name, how to define a XPath, guys? / tag name at class equal to value. Is it right? This is the way how we should write. But in cssSelector, how it should be defined? Tag name dot class name. That's all. This is the format how you should define class name in the cssSelector, guys. Okay, suppose if you want to define some other attribute other than ID and other than class name, if you want to use any other attribute. Okay, guys. So how to define attributes in cssSelector? Attribute. See how to define first in XPath. Syntax is same, right? / tag name, square bracket at attribute equal to value. It is a syntax in XPath. In cssSelector, how it should be defined? See, tag name, there is no double slashes. Okay, guys, square brackets should come here also, and simply should write here attribute equal to value. No @ symbol here. No @ symbol required. in the CSS selector, guys. So like this, you can define attribute. Guys, all of you clear? See the differences between how to define CSS selector using tag name and how to define CSS selector using ID. How to define CSS selector using class name. How to define CSS selector using attribute. So all of you clear, guys? See, now let us see some examples, then we will continue this other options. Okay. So let me show you some examples. Okay, let me take here any script, then we will convert them into CSS selectors, guys. XPath here, right? There is some script here. We're already using XPath for this Facebook application. So now let them convert everything into CSS selectors, guys. So I will create here new class. CSS selector. Okay. Finish. I'm copying this XPath script, guys. Okay, I'm copying everything, all methods. Yeah. So now let us convert XPaths to CSS selectors, guys. These things. All comments are removed. Yeah. Now see that here, guys, this is the first one, XPath. Here we are using ID, right? So how to define that ID in CSS selector? Remove these double slashes, not required. And remove this bracket, not required. Since it is ID, no need to define all these things. Simply write here, input hash email. No single quotes also required, guys, here. This is how you can write. Let us say that is it identifying or not, guys. So I'm copying it, same thing. First we have to change this by dot XPath, right? By dot CSS selector.
Input spelling wrong, sir.
CSS selector. Yes, now it looks very simple, right? If you compare with XPath, CSS selectors are very simple, very easy to write. Okay. But there are some limitations. That's why, right, most frequently we are using XPath always. Because by using XPath, it is easy to identify, right, very complicated elements also. But in CSS selector, there are some limitations. We can't use CSS selector always. So at the time, again, you have to go back to XPath. Yeah, okay, guys. So now this is the CSS selector, guys, how it should be defined. Let us see. Let me replace here also. Input. You should write here hash for ID. Remove all these things. Pass. Done. Copy this. See
In
here.
text box input spelling wrong, sir.
Yeah, T is missing. Okay, guys. Done. Now here, see that here they are using starts with method, right? They are using starts with method. So starts with method can be used in defined in CSS selector. How it can be defined? Very simple, guys. Starts with also very simple. Let's see that. Remove this. Let's first remove double slashes, not required. Okay, guys. So next square bracket should be there. Remove this starts with, not required. At the rate of symbol, not required. Before attribute, at the rate of symbol, no need to write here. Okay, guys. So remove this bracket. Now see that how to define this. Equal to. Before equal, we should write tab. is the meaning of this? Starts with, guys. Starts with. That means it will identify button element with attribute value which begins with this string. That is the meaning of this. But in XPath, we are writing a method name, starts hyphen with and then brackets, and inside that we are writing at the rate of data hyphen test ID, comma, this value. Now we are replacing that using cssSelector, guys. Okay. So now let us see that I will run only this Facebook login method. First, let us confirm that all these three selectors are working fine. Is it right or not? Facebook login. Okay, guys, I'm going to run this Facebook login. Yeah, let me run this, guys. Password not identified.
The program not changes XPath. Only XPath is
Invalid selector. Is the problem? Oh, sorry. This one not changed. By.xpath is there, right? By.cssSelector. We have to change the locator name, right? Yeah. Save it. So it is clicking login button, right? It is working fine, guys. So it is printing, guys. Perfect. It is working fine. That means see that login button also working fine. See that this is the icon we are using. It is special character we are using to define any attribute that begins with a specific string. So if you want to define any starting string of any attribute, then you should define like this, guys. Suppose if you want to define any ending string, guys, see that now I'm going to change this now to ending string. Login underscore button is the ending string, correct? In this application, if you look at this, the ending string, how you can define in the cssSelector for this login button. See, I'm taking this text value. No, what is this? Royal login underscore button. See that royal underscore login underscore button. So now I want to use the ending string. So login underscore button I want to define in the cssSelector. So how it should be defined? See login underscore button, and here the character changes. Instead of cap character, you should define dollar equal to login underscore button. So what is the meaning of dollar? It defines ending string. It defines end string, guys. See now also it should click button. Login button should be clicked now without any error. But in XPath, this ends with is not working, guys. In XPath, the ends with the method is not working. Function is not working in XPath. But now here it should work. Using cssSelector, ends with should work fine. Yeah, it is clicking, guys. See that. Login button is clicked successfully. So this is the ends with, guys. Now there is one more method, right? In XPath, what is that? Contains method, right? How contains method can be defined? Here, star, that's all. See now I will use simply login. I will remove this button as well. So here star means this attribute should contain this string. That's all. The attribute contains this string. Contains means this string can be at any position, at the beginning or at the ending or in the middle of the attribute value. No problem. So now also it should work fine. Say that. And you can cross check how you are cross checking, right? Whether this XPath is working or not. Similarly, you can cross check your CSS selectors are working fine or not, guys. That option also is available. See that now, for example, go to here. Simply let me copy this CSS selector. See, I'm copying this CSS selector and simply paste it here. It will find the element here. Control F. Just you place it here. See that here, guys. Find by using selector. Selector means CSS selector, guys, or XPath. Anything you can define here. See that it is highlighting that element. Okay. So you can define here CSS selector or XPath. Both will work in Chrome browser. Okay, guys. So it is working fine. So asterisk means here contains. The meaning it's similar to contains method in XPath, guys. So cap symbol means what is a cap symbol? Starts with. All of it clear? Starts with method in XPath. And dollar means ends with. That is the ends with method in XPath, guys. Guys, all of it clear? So here that these are the two more methods. Okay, attribute, right? Attribute value. If you want to define, if you want to identify any element using attribute, using some attribute, let us see that example. Is there any example here? Yeah, okay, let us see here, guys. Name attribute is there, right? How to define name attribute using CSS selector. So remove this double slash, just write input at the rate of symbol not required. That's all. You can remove at the rate of symbol, just write name equal to value. That's it, guys. So here replace XPath to CSS selector. Yes, this is how you have to define name in the CSS selector. Not only name, any attribute other than ID and class. If you want to define any attribute, you have to follow this syntax. Inside square brackets, simply define attribute name and value. That's it. So all of it clear, guys? So that is another important thing. See, now one more thing we have seen, that contains method, right? Contains method. How to define contains method in XPath? It is a syntax: double slash tag name contains at the rate of attribute comma value. So this is the syntax of right contains method in XPath. How you can define CSS selector? Simply tag name. Okay, guys, and write here attribute asterisk equal and value. That's all. So this is the similar way how you can define contains method in the CSS selector by using asterisk character, guys. Guys, all of it clear? So next starts with how to define starts with in XPath. Double slash tag name starts hyphen with, and here we have to define at the rate of attribute, attribute comma value. So this is the way how you can define starts with, guys. In CSS selector, how it should be defined? Tag name, attribute, cap character equal value. That's it, guys. And one more thing, ends with. How to define ends with? In XPath not available, it is not working. We check that. So CSS selector, how to define that? Very simple. Tag name, attribute equal to dollar equal value. So this is the ends with method, guys. Okay, guys. So all of it clear. So please practice these CSS selector methods and see that. Let us see here. Any other next to have name are there, fine. And what else is there in this script, guys? Let me check that. ID only is there, that is okay, easily you can do that. And here see that value, it is a just attribute, okay, attribute, fine. And you can see here, guys, okay, this method you no need to convert this, guys. We will continue this one tomorrow, how to convert this into cssSelector. So you please complete up to here, guys. Please convert this full method into cssSelector up to Facebook new account and Facebook login, guys. You please complete Facebook login and Facebook new account methods. Create these two methods using CSS selectors. And this one I will show you tomorrow, okay, guys, because there is again continuation. So how to define this one, that we will see tomorrow. How to define CSS selector with the multiple elements, multiple HTML tags. That we will see that tomorrow, guys. So any questions, guys, in creating these two methods using CSS selectors? So any questions? It is a really very effective approach. CSS selector is very effective to identify elements. But I will show you that tomorrow. I will tell you that what are the limitations in the CSS selector. Mainly limitations means by using HTML text, it is very difficult to define HTML text in the CSS selector. That is the only main limitation, guys. Other than that, all other options, right, we can define in the CSS selector. Yeah, any questions, guys? Today's session, today we covered, right, page load timeout and thread.sleep and CSS selector options. What are the different CSS selector options? How to define CSS selector using tag name and using ID, using class name and using attribute and using contains, starts with and ends with methods in the CSS selector, guys. So you please complete, that is the work for you, guys. Please complete Facebook login and Facebook new account creation methods using CSS selector. That is for your practice. So any questions, guys? No doubts? Yeah, okay, guys. Then we'll continue this CSS selector tomorrow. Still, we have a few more options that we'll see tomorrow. After that, we'll look into that fluent weight tomorrow, guys. Yeah. Okay, guys. Bye. Meet you tomorrow.